I did this podcast, and I talked about luck a little bit, and how I'm not a believer in luck because I think luck is bullshit.
I feel like this is a Oprah moment. We got Ronell Winfrey over here, man.
Ronell,
you get a car, you get a car.
Even if you won the lottery, you had to get your fat ass out of bed. You got to go
to the corner. Probably the first to know this. I'm about to launch another podcast really soon.
Nope. So everyone here is now. So
no. This is good. This is a exclusive tip.
Well, I guess it is a success podcast, but it's the AntiSuccess Podcast.
It's like right now, you and I are sitting
100.
back. We're wax poetic on this mic, but you can relate.
One of the things that I like to share with folks, because you know me, I'm a career salesman.
Of course.
This is what I've done forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Right.
Like those that know me close know that I was knocking on doors when I was 6, 7, and 8 years old. This is what I did.
Structured masterminds are great too, but just kicking it with people that can understand the plight that you're going through, but also can maybe provide value.
Welcome to the Business and Bourbon Podcast, where we have real talk with real people. I'm Ronell Richards. I am your host and the creator of Business and Bourbon. If you have not listened to our podcast before, I want to welcome you in. What we do is we bring in professionals at all levels of their career. So we bring in folks that are new, folks that have been in business for a long time. We bring in some entrepreneurs. We run the full gamut. Why? Because I want to bring in people that are interesting, that have interesting stories just like you. What you will not hear at Business and Bourbon is someone pontificating about how great they are, all of their successes. I don't care about your successes. You guys don't care about your successes. We care about the journey. We care about how did you get there and what are the challenges that you dealt with and the challenges that you're currently dealing with. So this week's show, I've brought in Adrion Porter, and I got to tell you, I'm really excited about this one. Adrion is one of the inspirations for this podcast and why I do what I do. So in this podcast, man, we're going to get to some serious meat. We're going to talk about finance. We're going to talk about personal life. We're going to talk about all the things that take us off track in our professional careers and how to handle that. How do we stay focused? How do we keep doing what we need to do to be successful in spite of all of the things that life throws at us? And I think you guys will enjoy. So I want you to go ahead and grab a glass, grab a cup, grab a mug, whatever your favorite drinking receptacle is. I want you to go ahead and pour your favorite beverage in there, pull up a chair, and get comfortable because I want you to enjoy a little business and bourbon with us. Hey guys, welcome back. Business and Bourbon, real talk, real people. You know how we do. So if you haven't listened to this podcast before, let me give you a little introduction. This is about real people sitting down, having real conversations about professional life and personal life. Like, listen, everything's on the table here because we want to talk about the things that the other podcasts don't talk about. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're looking for a podcast where they're just going to talk about the basic, the boring stuff, well, this ain't your podcast, so move on to the next one. Again, talking about business, bourbon, and real drinks, having a real good time here. So we are at the King and Duke in the heart of Atlanta. I absolutely have to give a shout out to these guys because they host us. Yeah. We come in here and you're hearing a little bit of that ambient noise. It's awesome. There's energy going on here. There's drinks. There's people doing business. And so we just want to give you an insight on what it's like. So belly up to the bar, pull up your chair. Let's have a good time. I'm going to go ahead and introduce my man, Adrion Porter, who is our guest today. And before I do, Adrion, I have to give you credit because you are an inspiration for this podcast. And I don't even know if you know that. But see, Adrion and I had a conversation several months ago where we sat down and we talked about, we just dropped some real talk, right? We talked about business, entrepreneurship, families. And I said, you know what, Adrion, people need to hear this. This is the sort of thing that can really help folks because when we're going through the challenges that we face as professionals, we think that we're on an island. We think that we're by ourselves. Am I right or wrong?
No, you're absolutely right, man. It's a collaborative effort and it's a collective that people can come together and share those stories. It's really beneficial to us as entrepreneurs.
I agree.
Yeah.
So with that said, no further ado, Mr. Adrion Porter.
Hey,
welcome.
What's going on, brother? Hey, glad to be here.
It's good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Yes, likewise.
So as we get started here, why don't you first tell the audience a little bit about what you're doing, your company. What are you up to?
Yeah, my pleasure. First of all, I'm very honored to be here, Ronell. I'm inspired by what you do, and it's really a blessing, and it's great to be here in such a great atmosphere. Like when I do my show, it's usually in my home office, and it's just me and my desk and a couple of people over Skype. But, it's good to be out and about over some drinks.
Yes.
So this is great.
Yes.
So you mentioned me earlier at the podcast. So what I do, I have a couple of things. From the business standpoint, I have a company called AP & Company, Adrion Porter & Company, which is a brand strategy, personal growth firm. So I help organizations and individuals build powerful brands at the end of the day that create value and impact. And so I have a very strategic process. I really am passionate about helping building company brands, but also personal brands, specifically for people also who are in leadership or professional positions like our age, mid-career, midlife.
Our age,
Gen
what?
Xers.
22?
21.
I'm on, as my good friend says, let's see, what am I now? I am on my 21st anniversary of my 21st birthday.
I love it. See, I love that. And I am a proud 47-year-old Gen Xer, but it's Gen Exceptional, as I like to say. So I'm very passionate. That's more of a personal passion of mine. So again, really a brand strategist. Been working in marketing and branding for almost 20 years for big companies, whether it's HBO, Citigroup in New York, Turner Broadcasting. So really the traditional brand development route.
Did you drop every name there? Oh my goodness! Who did you not work for? That's a big player, man. Jesus.
Yeah, man. I've been very fortunate. Right after B school, I went to Vanderbilt MBA graduate school I graduated in '99. Oh my God, I'm getting old.
You've done a lot, really, and it's super impressive. I'm impressed. I've always been impressed.
Well, I appreciate that. I've been fortunate and blessed to be in the right place at the right time, but also with the right preparation and the right execution.
So all that said. Because they listen to this podcast because they want to hear the real dope. They want us to get down to the nitty gritty, man.
Yes,
let's talk about. So and this is for folks that haven't listened to this podcast before. Well, I guess it is a success podcast, but it's the AntiSuccess Podcast. Okay,
yeah.
So what I mean by that is, listen, hey, Adrian's done a lot of great things. I've done a lot of great things, but this isn't about that. This is about the challenges that we face. This is about how we overcome those as a team.
Exactly.
And how we need each other
to
help get through some of those things. So given your background, and first question that I have for you is, man, jumping into this pool of entrepreneurship. Wow. I mean, like, you had a lot of security there, and you're working with some big brands and decided to go out on your own. Like, what made you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm glad you brought that back to that type of conversation, because what I wanted to do at talking about my experience and what do I do now. So I started with my current company with building brands and consulting, but I wanted to walk through all the great success, or opportunities, I should say, that I've had working for those big brands, because what it led me to this point. And I would say how I got into entrepreneurship was really not by design. Again, I was laid off from Turner. And then after that, I went and just figured out, okay, well, should I look for another gig? But I had a lot of colleagues and mentors telling me, Adrion, you've had some great experiences. You have a lot to offer. You should try consulting. I initially jumped into it, man, just not by design, but by happenstance from being laid off. Shifting from that type of stability and security to where you literally have to, where you eat what you kill, and I had to learn that.
Yes.
It's still a challenge for me. I'll be quite candid with you.
So let's get into that.
Yeah, let's get into it.
What are some of the top challenges for you? Give me one or two. What are your top challenges?
Well, first is just reconfiguring your mindset that you always have to sell. I want to be clear in this, because sometimes when people hear you have to sell or hear the word sales, they envision maybe this slimy used car salesman or someone knocking on your door.
I hate that. I think this would help a lot of entrepreneurs out there. Like, when you get into entrepreneurship, you're a salesman now.
Oh, you have to be a salesman.
Right?
Yes.
So, like, how did you handle that? How did you? That's a big challenge, man.
Well, first, I say I did not handle it well. I will say that in the beginning. It was very hard. I had to train myself. I didn't do a good enough job. I expected the people to knock on the door and say, clients to come say, hey, let's work together. It didn't happen. So I had to put myself in a situation where I had to be out there communicating the value that I have to offer, going out fishing.
All right, so becoming that salesperson.
Yeah.
What were the tools that you use? What would you say? Like, if you're going back in time and you're going to Adrion a few years back and say, hey, look, you're going to need to become a salesman guy. Like, this is what you need to do.
Right.
Listen to this, watch this, talk to this person. What would you say? Great
question. So first, I would say you have to understand and have clarity on who you are and your purpose. Before you're in a great position to do outreach for people to help you, you have to come to them with a story of, first of all, and give them incentive of why they should help you. Why should they invest in you? And so what I had to do, and I continue to do this, I say this all the time, is that I'm a work in progress. So sometimes there's different...
Not me. I'm done.
Finished. You're the finished product. You're right. So, I'm always a work in progress, man. I'm always evolving based on if the tide shifts or if I pivot or just evolving as a person. So what I had to do is have clarity on what is it that I'm trying to offer? What is my brand? What is my value?
Okay.
And once I did that, then I was able to consume the right type of content based on categories. I was able to go to the right people or mentors and say, hey, how can you help me? And actually, right before that, you have to identify those gaps, those skill gaps. Skills are important.
So one thing I'd like to add to that is I think that folks feel like that is not necessarily a process. It's just something like, okay, this is who I am. This is what I do. I want to compare it to a incoming freshman, right? You're going to college and like, okay, what, you're supposed to know what you're going to do for the rest of your life. No, no. And this is what I tell my kids aren't in college yet, but they'll be there pretty soon.
Yeah.
I really want them to go to college and kind of have time, figure it out, explore it. Like this process of determining, hey, this is what my brand is and this is who I am. This is what we do. It takes a little bit of time.
It takes time.
Okay. So put yourself out there, be vulnerable for it. Put yourself out there. And like you said, I think you said something about the wind or...
where the tide shifts.
There we go, the tide.
Yeah, the tide
So,
shifts.
Really figuring out, okay, where's the opportunity?
Right.
Because the road to success is not straight. Dude, when I started a company 16 years ago, and what I set out to do and what it ultimately made me successful were two totally different things.
Right.
But I was always open, right? So I think that you got to kind of approach this with an open spirit and be an opportunist, right?
Yes.
You look for the opportunities, and when you see the opportunities, you're smart enough to take advantage of it.
Right.
I think that a lot of folks, it's funny, I had this post the other day, and actually it wasn't a post, I did this podcast, and I talked about luck a little bit and how I'm not a believer in luck because I think luck is bullshit. That's what people that don't do shit dismiss. That's how they dismiss accomplishments.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he was lucky.
It was lucky.
No, shit, I wasn't lucky. What I did is I took advantage of an opportunity.
Right.
Like, even if you won the lottery, you had to get your fat ass out of bed. You got to
go to the corner.
You got to store. Go to corner store.
Get the ticket.
Yeah, you got to deal with that ignorant ass dude behind the counter.
I'm visualizing this right now.
Yes, like that took some amount of work, right?
The lottery ticket didn't just knock at your door and just said, "Hey, land on your lap."
It don't work that way.
Right.
It takes action.
Right.
So getting back to the sales piece, I think that where a lot of people struggle and not having a sales background is that, first of all, you don't know what to do. You don't like to do it. You don't want to do it. And one of the things that I like to share with folks, because you know me, I'm a career salesman.
Of course.
This is what I've done forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Right.
Like those that know me close know that I was knocking on doors when I was 6, 7, and 8 years old. This is what I did. All right. So
that was you, man?
It was me. Yeah. Here's the thing about business and sales.
Yeah.
Your business has to be sold. Period. Someone has to do the work. Now, this is what I tell people. That doesn't always have to be you. You may not be the person that's comfortable picking up the phone and making cold calls and all that sort of thing, and you can't do it. Well, that shit's got to get done. So if you're not going to do it, bring in a resource to do it. Use the resources that are out there, but no, like sales, that's got to be done. So that activity, that lays the groundwork. That's the foundation of your business. So either you do it, and if you're not capable of doing it,
find
somebody. And it's not as difficult as people may think. You don't have to hire some expensive salesperson to come in. You just have to be smart enough to use the technology and the resources that are out there.
Exactly. I love that. I love that advice. Yeah, it's interesting, man. We talk about sales, and you are definitely a career salesman. You do a great job, and I think that
Thank you.
And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs, not just entrepreneurs, but people who are looking to progress in their career and their life, you always have to sell. You always have to open the door for possibility. Always. Again, like I mentioned earlier, if you are someone that's in lower management or entry level, or if you're just looking to advance in your career, you have to sell your skills. You have to sell your story. You have to be able to communicate what you have to offer. If you're someone that's if you're over a nonprofit and you're looking for funding, if you're looking for donations, you have to sell the value of that not-for-profit. If you are an entrepreneur, so I think just the principles and the right frameworks and the guidelines of how to be able to sell and tell your story effectively. And so again, it doesn't happen overnight, man. It's a process.
Yes.
It's definitely a process. Even with me, when I help companies and especially individuals with building their brand, like their personal brand, I have what I call a powerful brand framework, because to me, there's a difference between having just a brand and a brand that creates value, and a brand that creates impact, and a brand that future-proofs your career. That is a powerful brand, a brand that has power influences. So I literally have a 5-part strategic process.
Listen, folks, you need to connect to this man. He can help you out with your branding. Adrion, what's the best way to connect with you?
Man, I'm easy peasy, man. AdrionPorter.com.
Spell that.
Adrion Porter, Portr. @Adrion on Twitter, LinkedIn, AdrionPorter.com. Listen to my podcast. If you are someone in that Gen X mid-career, midlife generation, I have a podcast called Gen X Amplified, which is really built to interview and provide a platform to hear inspiring stories from thought leaders.
And the thing about that, Adrion, is the one thing I think people may get a little skewed in their perception of Gen X Amplified is that Gen X Amplified is a podcast just for Gen X. No. This is, listen, especially millennials, you need to check this out because these are the folks that are your role models. Right. These are the folks that are on the level that you want to get to. We're going to touch on another subject here. We're going to get deep.
Let's get deep.
But before we do, listen, this is Business and Bourbon, and if y'all don't know, we actually drink. We're having, so we got to clink it up.
Let's clink it up, man.
All right, Adrion, what's your favorite spirit?
Ooh, man, that's like.
It's like kids, right?
I know that sounds like a lush or somebody, but honestly, it depends on the mood I'm in. It depends on the vibe I'm trying to.
Well, I've heard it's red wine.
You know, that's probably my. I'm a wine guy. I'm a red wine type of guy. That's just always been my vibe, man. And so cab, good cab, but also it depends on my mood. I do like a little.
So you're one of those. High acidity.
Man,
folks.
No. I do like some rum every now and then.
Yes.
Or just a nice little cognac. It just depends.
You got some Caribbean roots?
You know, I don't.
Okay.
I don't know. Then I might have that. All I know, but I'm a big rum guy. But right now,
in the U.S., we're all mutts, so we all got a little bit of everything.
I do want to quickly, though, because you brought up a great point. I don't want to let this go to chance. You mentioned the podcast, and probably the first to know this, I'm about to launch another podcast really soon.
Nope, so everyone here is now. So
no, this is good. This is a exclusive tip. The premise would be all about personal growth, personal branding, and because I just love podcasting. It's going to be more solo episodes for me, but that's like my lane in addition to videos. But it's going to be coming soon, so stay on the lookout or listen out, I should say.
Stay woke. All right,
that's
guys.
right.
Make sure that you follow Adrion so you know when that's coming out.
Yeah.
Now, listen.
Let's do it.
Next thing. So the reason why I love Paul in your interview with Paul and your podcast, I heard some real talk. I heard some business and bourbon style talk that I don't hear very much in podcasts.
Right.
And he spoke about basically liquidating his life and
I remember that.
being behind on mortgages and everything else to see his entrepreneurial dreams come true. And that resonated so much with me, and I could really identify that because when he mentioned cashing out his 401k, been there. He mentioned not paying car notes, been there. Entrepreneurs, it's important for us to know that we're not alone out there. Like when you're going through these difficult times financially, a lot of times we feel like we're the only ones, like we're on an island. Like, oh, first of all, you're not the only one.
Right.
Anyone that has accomplished anything of greatness has gone through this, and you'll get through it if you see it through the end. But
yes.
Adrion, let's speak to that, man.
Yeah.
Share what you got.
I feel like this is a Oprah moment. We got Ronell Winfrey over here, man.
Ronell.
You get a car. You get a car. No, I mean, just to keep it real, and just keep it candid. I mean, I've been there. Again, when it came to going right into the waters of entrepreneurship consistently, man, there were times where, I'm looking around and I'm like, what do I do? Mm-hmm. And it's tough. I mean, every now and then, there's great times. You can have great moments.
Yes.
Big wins. And those moments are great. But I strongly believe for every good thing, there's always the other side. There's always the other side of the coin. There's always dark to the light. There's always black to the white. There's always sour to the sweet. And it's just the way it is. And so the same can be applied to entrepreneurship, and whether you're solvent when it comes to your revenue, your finances. At the same time, I've been there. So for me, and it's still a struggle. Like, I do okay, but recently I've had some personal setbacks as far as like family that I had to help out through health and things that you can't control. So when you're in those positions where you're having to look out for people that you care about, financially and emotionally, it takes a toll on you. And then again, and we've been having a very financial conversation in the past few minutes about 401k and mortgages, but I do want to make sure I introduce also there's other dynamics at play emotionally. Like even for me, I've been there. I still try to figure out, I'm hustling. Like even right now, I had to call you, man, and say, hey, I'm down for this podcast, but my wife's out of town. Mm-hmm. And so I'm Mr. Mom for 2 kids for the week. And so can we like shift our time a little bit? And because I have to hustle. And
this is real life.
So it's real life, but at the same time, so speaking of the financial strains that entrepreneurship embraces or invites, I should say, there's emotional strain. And I've been there, man. These past 2 years for me, personally have been probably the past 2 or 3 years been the toughest emotionally. Mm-hmm. It's been crazy.
So how do you stay focused?
It's tough. You have to confide and lean on people that you care about. You have to also understand what's important.
There we go.
You have to have clarity on what are your priorities. And so again, within the past few years, I've lost a lot. And it comes with the territory, the older you get. Now, many of these losses were unexpected and unfortunate, which makes it even harder to deal with. But at the same time, you think about it. Okay, you're dealing with that. You're dealing with whether it's layoffs, family situations, or death in the family. And you're trying to be an entrepreneur. You're trying to have the mindset to go out here and sell your story, to provide value, and continue to be a husband, a father. And so what you have to do without going crazy is that you have to look for people you can lean on. You have to get yourself in the right circles. Like right now, you and I are sitting
100.
back, we're wax poetic on this mic, but you can relate. And so that's why I'm always a fan of whether it's structured masterminds are great too, but just kicking it with people that can understand the plight that you're going through, but also can maybe provide value. Like when you and I broke bread maybe a few months ago, as you had mentioned at the beginning of the show, we just talked about some things, and I walked away from that conversation with more insight and more, I felt empowered to say, okay, he's been through some things, now let me go get my stuff together. And, so again, for me, I've been there. I've had great wins. I've had some struggles. I've had losses. But what keeps me going, man, is understanding, again, why I'm doing what I'm doing. What is my purpose professionally? What is the most important to me personally? My kids, my family, like without them, I won't be able to make it. So
that's what's up. And that's what I really want people to take from this.
Yes.
It's like, man, you lost a lot of people. Right?
Yeah, it's and again,
been a rough one.
It's like when I say it and I look back on it, I take the inventory, and it's all true. It's been crazy, So
that's real. That's what this podcast is about. It's talking about the real things that we deal with, right? And how do we get through?
Yeah.
How do we get through and still keep perspective and try to be successful? Right? And man, what I pulled from that is, man, get you a team. Get you a team.
Yes.
I mean, I this is something that I've learned
Right.
later on. Like, let me tell you something. I've been a team of one for a long time. Like, just put it all on my shoulders. And I have to apologize to my family and friends that are out there right now that are like, man, Ronell.
Now, I was going to ask you,
was
was that intentional? Or is just you just happen to be, like you said, a team of one? Or was that just part of your nature?
It's just who I am.
Got it.
And so for 15, 16 years of my career, my business career, I'm that guy.
Okay.
Period. Until I hit a wall. Fortunately, I had family that was close to me that I was able to lean on and help me through those moments. But beyond that, in most recent years, I've been able to connect with folks like Adrion here that can understand the challenges that I face and the challenges that I'm going to face and they have faced. So I would say that I feel that when we go through these things, sometimes we feel like we're on an island. We're the only ones.
Oh,
we're the only ones. And trust and believe the most successful people that you see out there have been through this shit. Maybe not only been through it, they could be going through it right this moment.
Yes.
Don't trust social media.
No,
don't trust it.
You're only seeing the highlights.
You ever seen anyone on social media show a mortgage that's past due?
No, and then when you do see those people, because every now and then, few and far between. Like I saw a brother that I do admire. He's an entrepreneur, but he was out there and he showed a picture of him at the Coinstar machine.
Oh, for real?
It got rough. But
I go to the Coinstar machine.
No, but he was telling a story at the time when things got so bad. Like he's doing well, but he's at the Coinstar like scraping up just to get gas money.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you don't see those stories on IG. You do
No.
not. No. You see only the highlights. You only see what people want you to see.
Yes.
But whether it's Coinstar, or whether it's robbing Peter to pay Paul, or praying and hoping that the lights don't get cut off in 5 minutes because you had to go pay the mortgage, you don't hear those stories.
No.
And again, you mentioned something earlier. Yeah, entrepreneurship, this game it's a very lonely game. It's a very lonely game, and people, especially in this social web 2.0 IG world where entrepreneurship is so glorified. It's like I'm sitting on top of the hill, I'm chilling, I got the cash, make money while I sleep.
If I see another 24-year-old with pictures of Audis and yachts and whatever.
24-year-old life coach at 24. In their bio, entrepreneur, you can make money anywhere.
Yes.
Like, come on, man. When you see that, that's not real.
Yes.
That is not real. So in this
that.
current day and age that we live in, you don't hear the stories about how entrepreneurship is a lonely game. You don't have the security of your colleagues in the cube next to you. You don't have the conference rooms that's gone. Now
you don't have management to blame for decisions that you make.
That's a great point. You don't have anyone else to put it on.
Yes.
And so obviously, now I don't want to paint a gloomy picture, but this is the picture that you need to hear about or see, because there are great benefits to steering your own ship. But I had to learn that, man. We talked about all the companies that I work for. I mean, these are big companies with great resources. And then when I started doing my thing, I remember the first couple of weeks, I'm at home, and I'm looking around, I'm trying to figure out, okay, I need to learn fresh books, I need to learn this, I'm at home by myself, and everything's on me. Income, profit and loss, like selling, business plans. I ain't never done that before. And so it was very lonely, but what has kept me going is what you said, getting yourself a team of colleagues that you can confide in. But also, which is so critical, and again, this is part of me just having a passionate purpose of helping people become their best self and add value, you have to understand what you have to offer. I think when you go through struggles, what gets you going is adding, is giving.
True.
And that's what gets me going.
So the purpose of this whole thing is listen, it's not about talking about just our successes. You're a successful guy, and I'm a successful guy. We've accomplished a whole lot of things.
Right.
But this is, like we said when I started this off, it's about pulling up a chair, bellying up to the bar, and commiserating. This is where we share.
Right.
And what I want to close with today and letting people know is that it's okay. You're not by yourself. Okay? We've all robbed Peter to pay Paul.
Paul,
and then Patrick was right behind Paul.
Patricia, she was hanging in there.
We've all done it, and we will do it. You know why?
Yes.
Because we're built for this.
Exactly.
This is what it's about. We are warriors, and it takes courage to do what it is that we do. All right? So just know that you're not alone. hang in there. It's going to be all good.
It's going to be all right.
All right.
Keep
With
your head
that
up.
said, man, Adrion, man, you're fired, bro.
Oh,
You
man.
are fired.
Likewise, Rondell.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
It was a lot of fun. I want you guys to make sure and subscribe to the Gen X Amplified podcast.
Thank
Make
you.
sure that
Thank
you're
you.
listening to that, and Adrion's super secret squirrel podcast that hasn't come out yet. When that does come out and he divulges the name, which is Everyone X Duck. I'm just kidding. It's not,
I love it.
whatever,
I love it.
whatever
I
it
use
is,
that.
make sure that you support that, because this is a real good dude who has a ton of knowledge to share. And with that said, man, we're gonna clink it up.
Yeah, let's do it again. Let's clink it up. Thank
We're
you.
clinking, and we're out. Thank you for listening to the Business and Bourbon Podcast. Please subscribe. And if you like us, give us a 5-star rating. If you don't, have another drink. Maybe you'll feel a little bit differently. If you'd like to check out our videos, you can go to businessandbourbon.tv. That's businessandbourbon.tv. In addition to that, we're currently touring the United States with our Business and Bourbon Live show. It's a fantastic show where we do a whiskey education and we do some Q&A, and it's a great networking event as well. So if you'd like to attend one of our Business and Bourbon Live events, you can go to businessandbourbon.live. Again, that's businessandbourbon.live. Thanks again for listening.